booties for black girl nerds.
That's okay. Okay, background. Got the nice Cape Cod background there. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
Well, Donna, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I've had a chance. I'd seen the whole series before it even started. And wow, I binge watched the entire thing probably over the course of 2 days. It hooked me in right from episode 1. Very, very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now
we're happy about the work. It was fun as well.
It looked like it. You know, that was something that really stood out was the chemistry that all of you had with each other, whether it was Osito and Junior, whether it was Jackie and Ray, Jackie and Ray. There was a lot of excellent performances and good chemistry between all of you in the cast. So now
thank you very much. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you very much. You know, it felt very family based. You know, no big egos. Everybody came to do work and do their best. And so it felt, it was great being on set. It was fun.
Before we dive into where we're at, I'm not sure if we're going to air this before the season finale or if the season finale has already run. But there's a lot going on in these little sleepy Cape Cod towns. And that was what was surprising to me to hear about. I'm from a big city. I live in Inglewood, California. And we have seen many series that are centered on the drug trade within, real urban communities, New York, Los Angeles, et cetera. But now we're seeing a different perspective. A little sleepy town is just almost overrun with the opioid epidemic. Diving into this role and just learning about this town and your character, what was most surprising for you to learn through this whole process?
Pretty much same thing you were speaking to, the underbelly of that community, as well as the different ethnicities that are in that town. I pretty much just saw it as, sort of white elite, kind of a vacationing spot that, maybe a few people of color trickle into, but they have a large islander population there, Jamaican, Haitian, et cetera, and Dominican. And that was surprising to know, as well as we just said, sort of the underbelly of what goes on there. I mean, there's a seediness, I guess, to every place, but just not to the degree that obviously we're discovering on our show and what it is in particular. Just as a side note, I had done some nonprofit work, working with an organization in a well-to-do community, I guess you could say. And they were speaking to the opioid epidemic and how bad it had hit their local high schools. That literally, it's a small area, so they only have 2 high schools. And so they literally, each high school swaps off on pretty much almost weekly of a kid overdosing on opioid. And so they discovered that for this community, largely the kids were getting access to it from their parents, who were getting these sort of boosted prescriptions from doctors, and then they'd have this mass amount at home, and the kids would sort of tap into it, take it to school and things like that. So it's finding those little threads of how it's permeating the community and things like that. So obviously, with our show, it's a hard sale drug trade, like hand to hand, like you said, crack in the 80s type almost situation where it's like, wow, you'd have never thought that it had this much seediness in such a small town with this type of population.
Absolutely. And just with the frequency that it moved there, I had a chance to talk to Amari, who plays Frankie, and I talked to Atkins, that plays Osito, and their perspective was very, very similar, particularly of people of color, because when we think of these things, we just don't think of seeing stories being told outside our communities. Particularly, what was interesting to me with talking to Atkins was just the touching upon even friction between Dominicans and Haitians. That's something that I've never seen portrayed. It's something you hear about if you're watching world history and just the conflict between those groups by sharing an island. So it's fascinating to see even that addressed. Atkins mentioned, are you Haitian also?
No, I'm not if anything, I'm Senegalese.
Oh, okay.
I got to go back there in 99 and everybody swore I was their cousin. I don't know if they were just trying to flatter me or what, but I know a lot of us came through that route. So if anything, I may be Senegalese.
Okay. So now we are towards the end of this current season, and a lot of storylines are coming to a close. We're seeing what's going to happen with the discovery of Shelley Hunter's murder, with what's going on with Krista Collins, who's hanging by a thread. I'm assuming that the finale hasn't aired during our conversation.
Not yet. Yeah.
And you and Ray are vastly different people in the way your character and how you operate within your policing capacity. Just speak to a little bit more about your character, Alan, and just how vastly different he is from Ray.
Well, obviously, he's a bit of the moral compass of the show in that he's the most clean-cut person you're going to get. We haven't thoroughly explored, all of his darkness. None of these characters are perfect, and that's what gets revealed on the show. But with him, he's for the most part the moral compass of the show, the everyman, the kind of person that if you don't have the lifestyle of any particular other character, if you're not a drug dealing murderer like Osito, that you can relate to Alan, who's kind of like a family man and a nobleman. In that he really wants to do the job. He sees policing as cleaning the community and making the community safe. And being family oriented, obviously you want to take part in doing that. And this is Alan's way of doing that. Am I defining him? It's funny because a lot of guys, this is no disrespect, because I know a lot of military people, a lot of officers, and he's not a bit, I don't want to say he's a meathead, but he's a person who, this is what works for him. You know what I mean? And that's how I see Alan as far as like his inner personality. He's a guy whose mind automatically puts things together, who starts connecting things very quickly. And so, former military background, this kind of a thing, what brings him and his family to this kind of community? And so he comes there as part of his heritage. His heritage is Haitian on the show. And so coming and knowing his community's part in what goes on there, it's a way of sort of fighting or balancing the scale in that community for his culture. Someone's got to be the knight to keep the darkness back. It's not ever going to truly go away, but he knows he can diminish as much of it as he can. So he has a bit of a noble drive to genuinely do away with crime. And he realizes that you can't take part in it and call yourself diminishing it at the same time, where Ray kind of feels like those strings give the criminal element a stronger hand because they're not tied in any way to any particular laws or restrictions. And so in saying all that, I think that Alan finds some kind of benefit to the way his partner Ray can do some things. He doesn't always approve. He certainly thinks that there's obviously things, toes you shouldn't step on and tape you shouldn't cut. But he sees in ways the effectiveness of getting certain things done. And there's a particular episode that obviously hits the nail on the head with that. But you can see it in his going along with what Ray does. He doesn't whistle blow. He doesn't tap him on the shoulder too much. Like, hey, man, he just lets him know when he needs to, like, all right, you're way out of bounds at this point, and you're going to cost both of us our jobs. So he kind of keeps him on a leash, if you will, in a way. He's kind of leading from behind. So Alan has learned to manipulate the social structure in this way, to be at the tip of the spear, but allow others to feel like they're running it so he can play his part without, rubbing people the wrong way, because obviously he has a racial element thing he has to deal with there and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of social climate. I think he's just a very smart guy. And that's what I mean by him not being a typical meathead. Not to say that officers or military guys are meathead, but unfortunately you will find these kind of men in law enforcement and in military. So he's the guy who, this is what he was built for. You ever meet a school principal who you're like, this guy was supposed to, or this one was supposed to be a school principal. And so I think that's what he is. He's one of these guys, he's a hand in glove in his position.
Watching throughout the episodes, there was just so many times where I just wanted to say, Alan, just swing on him. Just swing on him. Ray is out of control. Every time there's some progress to be made, he does something that is off kilter or out of bounds, or, sleeping with CIs, or, just doing things that are derailing the investigation. I just wanted your character to
self-destructive. Yeah. Very self-destructive guy. Yeah, that's why I get out of his way. Alan's the guy who realizes you give this guy enough rope, he'll hang himself. And he's kind of giving them little hints, hey man, you're going to look up and, So it's just he just kind of watches him. He knows that, you know, if he says too much again, then it'll, you know, sort of make them rivals, and they don't need to be. And at the same time, if he says absolutely nothing, then it could cost, you know, him his job. So I think he's just constantly balancing the scale.
That was going to be my next question. So would you say that they are friends, that Alan and Ray are friends, or is he just kind of laying in wait to you know, take the pole position?
I think that Alan has offered Ray olive branches, you know what I mean? And not in the sense of just being super duper buddies, but at least just being on, having a rubric. Like, all right, this is the rules for us. You can't do these things. You know, I'm asking you this. Whenever you first meet him, you see the relationship, right? He pulls up, he's pounding on the door, baby's crying in the background, it's a newborn. You know, Alan comes out, I was like, dude, well, come on, man. You just can't roll up to my house and start pounding on doors.
Right.
Call and say I'm coming by, you know. So it's literally an example of how the relationship is managed. The more conscionable person is Alan, the less conscionable person is Ray. And he's just going to, any part of him, whether it's race based. And I think a lot of that for him is just baiting anyway. He likes to see if he can get under Alan's skin. But, you know, just a lot of things that he does is just, you know, he likes to push the envelope, Ray.
Mm-hmm. Going back to your earlier point about the diversity of that type of a town, and the Santille family moving there and fitting into that community, and just your process of learning about the area, it being so diverse with Haitians and Dominicans and all these different types of people, the cast really reflects that with LGBTQ representation, with Black representation, white representation. There's just a quite a huge array of cast and characters that are really reflective of kind of a policing type of environment. When you signed on and you get a chance to watch back the episodes after filming, what are you most proud of that you've seen over the course of the season?
One, Rebecca's writing. You know, you'll hear actors say this all the time: when the writing's good, you know, you kind of just get out of the way. There's a lot there for you, and there's a lot to play with to really feel the character, and you don't ever feel like you're having to validate or justify or rationalize, you know, something's been created. She gave us room to play, and seeing all that play out in the show, and seeing on screen how the chemistry comes together. You know, you feel it when you're on set. You know, you know, but you don't necessarily know how that always plays out. You assume that it does, and then to finally see all the chemistry on screen, like the thing with me and Ray. Honestly, when we're performing it, because of how it was done, I just kind of didn't buy it completely, you know, so the racial baiting and things like that. I was just like, you know, this is an interesting way to play this, you know, even when I jump up and go, oh, really, you know, you did this as a favor to me because he's Black, so you call yourself looking out for me. It was a weird thing at the time, and I played it for what it was, but to see it actually communicate in how the story's been developed, how the characters developed, it's dropped just right. So Rebecca did a great job of really putting this world together. She has a good balance and understanding of all the characters. I mean, think about it. She's writing for a Black man, she's writing for, you know, Latino woman, she's writing for, you know, a white guy, you know, and she's got these very balanced, very well put together characters and stories that build in a way that aren't so obvious that you're already ahead of whatever's happening, but also not so slow that you're kind of like, man, you know, like I got to watch the next episode to get that little nugget. And so it's really paced well and everything. And so I'm happy with the overall assembly of it, I guess you could say, and enjoying it. Cause you know, I've seen it every episode, probably 2 or 3 times before it even aired, but still I'm able to sit and watch it every week, episode by episode, seeing how the audience is seeing it. I'm going, oh, this is a really watchable show. You know, it's like I'm in it. You know, normally I don't try to judge the show in that way. And, you know, me and my wife are just kind of looking at each other like, oh, okay, you might have some legs here. You know what I'm saying? So even my manager chimed in. He's like, man, I'm really vibing on your show. You know, so I think the biggest thing for me is like the overall success of what the show turned out to be. I'm really happy about that. Then as far as like being in the culture there, we shot a week in Cape Cod and meeting the people who were actually there. I saw a lot of Jamaicans. So, you know, the Haitian aspect was pushed up so much. I just assumed everybody was Haitian. But there were business owners, people who worked at different restaurants, and, you know, a lot of Jamaicans. And so I was just like, wow, okay, we need to play that up a little more, you know, so that kind of a thing. And then just the vibe, very open, you know, it's a beach city. So it's real, you know, laid back. And then to see the people who actually live there, you know, I don't want to say retiree type, but just like more of a baby boomer retiree type, you know, culture. So that's why it's really kind of open-minded and just freeing. I mean, pretty much for anybody kind of walking around, you kind of just, there's like a little village, you know, you feel like there's this village, like a little massive village kind of thing, vibe going there, and to feel that, and to know that's why people like to get out there, because they like that village vibe that they kind of got going on.
Yeah, I mean, I would have had no idea, West Coast person. I've traveled, but I've never had reason to go to Cape Cod. So I would never
Me either.
think
I
that.
don't
So
think if
now
I
I'm a
worked
little
on the show.
curious, like, might be kind of cool for a little, adult vacation, a little kickback vacation. And lastly, I see that the show has been I see in IMDb there's a season 2 tab there. So it looks like you guys got renewed, which is excellent. I feel like Hightown is one of those shows that's not going to get appreciated even more so until it gets closer to a newer season, as people start to discover it, because it's really, really a good show, and it just kind of snuck in there. And I'm surprised that more powered people are like, we need something to watch on Starz now. And then here comes Hightown with filling that void. What would you like to see happen to Alan during the course of season 2 if you could look into the crystal ball? Where would you like to see your character go?
I guess then, because I don't want to steer the writer in a particular direction. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was going to say, do you know something that you can
tell? No, they didn't tell us. We just know we got, another season, a couple more episodes, which is great, and that was mid-season. So obviously we're doing really well. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, I do know this arc for all the characters. None of them are perfect.
Right.
And so I guess I'm highly anticipating what is wrong, with Alan, what's going on with him. And how does that rabbit hole go, and is it going to be stretched out, or is it going to be something sort of big in your face right away kind of a thing? So that's the other shoe I'm waiting to fall, see fall or whatever. And then just, how the show continues to play out, as, each character kind of comes fully into their own, what does that scope then shape? You know what I mean? Like, how does that rewrite the city that we're in? Because obviously if certain things happen, then things going to get violent. And how does a town like Cape Cod deal with, straight up street violence, So kind of stuff, just seeing how the story goes and seeing what happens with Alan as far as like anything, unless he holds the, toes the hole or whatever, and holds it down, and he's pretty much a grounded guy that doesn't, he bend but doesn't break. And that'd be amazing to see.
If I could look into the crystal ball for Alan, I feel like Alan is so noble. So he's probably harboring some guilt for something he did in the military. And now he has to spend his career looking for redemption for whatever that bad act is doing. So that's what I think is going to happen. Because Alan's good. Everybody else is just so jacked up. Everybody are either drug addicted or bending the rules or et cetera. And Alan is so good. I am very happy for you. I'm very happy for the show and watching it and seeing the diversity and the representation in the cast. All of you have been amazing. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and your castmates, and I look forward to seeing season 2.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day, and get in the backyard with the family. We're in a pandemic.
Absolutely. Take care.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.